I want to emphasize something that I'm spending some of my time on and kind of give you guys an idea of what is a presidential transition. Now, mind you, I'm not going to share anything confidential. I'm not going to share anything that is private. However, I get a lot of questions. Charlie, what is a transition team? And by the way, this is one transition we can get behind. It's actually a very real transition, unlike the fake transition of that man from Delaware, of which we will discuss with Nancy Mace. This is a transition that actually is a metamorphosis. So a transition team, you're going to keep on hearing that in the news, is very simple. You have one administration, you have the Biden administration, that has a thing called Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 candidates or jobs. Tier 1 is all of your cabinet positions. It's people that are, quote unquote, in charge. Those are people like Lee Zeldin at the EPA, like Bobby Kennedy at HHS, like Pete Hegseth at the Department of Defense, like Matt Gaetz at the Department of Justice. Tier 1 individuals are ones that are Senate confirmed, and they report directly to the president. Now, there's about 38 Tier 1, maybe 40. I could be wrong, but these are people that will run direct agencies that the president manages. When he has a cabinet meeting, that is Tier 1, and there's a couple more on top of it. Small Business Association, for example, SBA, Department of Labor, Department of Interior, Department of Energy. So that is Tier 1. But then it starts to get very interesting at Tier 2. Tier 2 has over 800 positions that are, of course, also presidentially appointed. But the president, and not just President Trump, but other administrations, you just don't have time to be able, for the president to be able to look eye to eye at every single deputy. Now, mind you, Deputy Attorney General, Deputy Secretary of Defense, Deputy of the CIA, the president is going to be involved in. But if you're talking about the Department of Education, the deputy of the deputy is not necessarily going to get a face-to-face interview with the president of the United States. So there are over 850, just approximating, Tier 2 positions. The Tier 2 positions are actually what runs the government. The Tier 2 positions are the ones that do 80 to 90% of the work. That is your upper mid-level management, if you will. Those people are all presidentially appointed. Joe Biden will have no hangovers from that. And then you get down to Tier 3. There are 5,000 Tier 3 positions. And back in 2016 and 2017, Tier 3 is where we just got slaughtered. Tier 3 are the people that are usually 24, 25, 26 years old. People that are, they're going to be assistant comms director or undersecretary to the chief of staff. These are not Senate confirmed. Some of Tier 2 is. But Tier 3 are all of the ground workers. And then after Tier 3, you have the careers, people that are very difficult to remove. I'm sure that President Trump, working with Vivek and Elon Musk, are going to try to get rid of some of the careers, considering that they work at home and they are not always there and they have second or third jobs. The careers are a separate issue and more legally difficult to remove. However, if you count Tier 3 plus Tier 2 plus Tier 1, that's almost 6,000 positions that President Trump can fill on day one. Those 6,000 people will determine the structure, the form, the tone, the tempo of the federal government. These are the people that when President Trump says, I want to be the most pro-crypto president in history, the Tier 2 and Tier 3 people at Treasury are actually going to get that done. When President Trump, for example, says that he wants to hold off on new regulation, that has to go through the Office of Management and Budget, which I hope is Russ Vought, by the way. He's terrific. And then it has to kind of go through the grinder of the bureaucracy. Now, let me give you an example. This is, get cut 55 ready. This is the military PSA. We play this clip a lot, but it's worthy of repeating. This policy was almost assuredly not created by the Secretary of Defense. It was almost certainly crafted and developed by these Tier 2 type individuals, the undersecretary of whatever. And again, I'm in some of these transition meetings. These titles, we got to do away with some of these titles. They are so long, they are so bureaucratic. You're like, what exactly is his job? Well, I'm the undersecretary assistant to Northern Eurasian Affairs. Turns out, super important job, like incredibly important job. Just the title will make you dizzy. You can't remember it. And then, by the way, Foster Friess, may he rest in peace, one of our original donor and great mentor. Foster Friess is rolling in his grave right now. Because one of Foster's rules for life was that you never say an acronym without first explaining the acronym. So I'm in this meeting, and they're like, oh, yeah, the ORIRA is going to talk to the USCEF, and that will be able to go with the CODEC, and the AFIL will go to the AQUA. I said, what are you talking? I need an org chart and an explanation. I think that people in government use acronyms to either make themselves feel more important or it's some sort of special code that civilians don't know what they're always talking about. Anyway, once you Google it, you can obviously figure it out. So Cut 55 is very interesting. This is the United States military more interested in how to use pronouns than actually creating the lethality of the United States military or to kill our enemies and protect the American people. This is why presidential personnel is so important. And I have to tell you, this transition is going incredibly well. The team that is behind it, I've mentioned those names before. Susie's doing an amazing job at Chief of Staff. The whole team on there. Sergio, my friend at PPO, is doing a great job. And the vetting is far better than anything in 2016, 2017. However, it's important to understand that so much of the things that we find objectionable happen below the cabinet level. It happened at that upper middle tier, that middle bureaucracy. Cut 55 shows the importance of presidential personnel, which is unfolding in real time. Play Cut 55.
Hi, my name is Johnny and I use he, him pronouns. Using the right pronouns is a really simple way to affirm someone's identity. It is a signal of acceptance and respect.
If it's a signal of acceptance and respect, how do we go about creating a safe space for everybody?
That's a good question. A really good way to do that is to use inclusive language. Instead of saying something like, hey guys, you can say, hey everyone.
Another way that we could show that we're allies and that we accept everybody is to maybe include our pronouns in our emails, or like we just did, introduce ourselves using our pronouns.
Now that is an official broadcast of the U.S. military. This is almost certainly third tier plus careers. I highly doubt the Joint Chiefs of Staff were involved in creating that. Are they okay with it? Yeah, somebody probably came up to him and said, sir, General Smith or whatever, we need to have an inclusive fighting force. We're just going to do that. Okay, fine. And it was written by the lower presidential personnel. And next thing you know, we have a military broadcast about what pronouns you have to use. Personnel is policy, as the great Morton Blackwell would say. Now, of course, Milley was okay with it, but that's not the point. It's that Milley wasn't the one actually crafting it or writing it. Being okay with something is something completely different, which actually doing the policy. And then to what gradation of the extreme is it? Again, the way that some of these careers are tier 3 probably pitched it is, we're just going to do a PSA about acceptance so that we're able to have our military force together. Okay, sure, whatever. And next thing you know, you have PSAs about what pronouns you use. If President Trump is to take back this government, it is tier 3 careers and tier 2. The sausage is made in these lower tiers. And that vetting and those interviews are happening right now as we speak.